So we've been preaching through this series called Love is a Preposition. And this series, make no mistake, this series is an outreach series. This is an evangelism series. Because to share the good news is to share a kingdom where love is the currency. Love is the operating system. Love is the system of government. That is the kingdom that we live in. We live in a kingdom where love is the atmosphere. It is everything. And so we've been talking about love as a preposition. And so I'm suggesting that a few little words can inform how we go about loving well. And so today I'm going to talk to loving people unto Christ. This is not a standalone message. It can't be. And so I'm going to give you a brief recap of what Pastor Matt and Pastor Tim have talked about for the last couple weeks. But you really do need to go back and listen to Pastor Tim's message and Pastor Matt's message from the last couple weeks, because they were excellent, important words. But even more importantly than that, because you can't love people unto without first loving with and loving for. You have to be with and you have to be for before you can ever speak direction into people's lives. So this can't be the only message that you hear. And so 2 weeks ago, Pastor Tim told us that love is with. Love is a commitment to be with the people that you want to know God. Not to exclusively hang around with people who talk and act and think and believe in a similar way to you, with similar cultures and similar ways of being. Love is a commitment to infiltrate the world and let people see that they are not alone. And they are not other than us. And so last week, Pastor Matt told us that love is for. Love is a commitment to be for people. For them to know that you are in their corner. That you're on their side, that you want what is best for them. Even if you don't agree on what is best for them, they at least know that you want what is best for them. That you want them to succeed, that you want them to flourish. Love shows that. Love lets people know that you are for them. And keep in mind that they will only ever believe that you are for them when you have proven to be with them. And so this works in order. You can only do this in order. You have to be with them first, and then you have to be for them. And only after that can love start taking a direction. The first 2 weeks told us a little bit about how love is. Love is with, because Jesus is with. Love is for, because Jesus is for. But today I want to give love legs, and I want to talk about where it's going. And so, let me tell you a little trade secret that isn't really a secret. People don't like to be evangelized. People don't like that. It's a funny thing. People don't like hearing about how they ought to live their lives. Did you know that preached at is actually a euphemism in our culture for telling someone how they ought to do things in a way that's negatively received? You just need to stop preaching at me. People don't like being evangelized. And be as that may, I know people don't like to be preached at, but I also know that there are a lot of people that I love that are going in bad directions. And I actually do know a better way for them, right? We believe that. I believe that I have information that will be helpful to people. That you have information that will be helpful to people. In fact, I believe that I know somebody that can really help them out. I think you do too. And so what do we do? How do we solve that conundrum? One solution that I see a lot, that I hear a lot, I hear people talk about, is that we just need to speak the truth because people need to hear it. And because the hard truth is brave and noble. And so, nary a Facebook post can pass without comments about how the Christian way is this or Jesus condemned that. And this whole phenomenon that you would just have to speak the truth. I think that's pretty harsh, actually. I think that it does some real damage to people, and I don't think it's effective for sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. I think that it damages people and their eternal hopes. But does that mean that we just ignore the truth and just be nice to people and let them live their lives the way they want to and hope that it sorts itself out in the end? By no means. We can do better than that. I think we can do better than that. And so let me read to you some of what the Bible says. And I'm going to be in John chapter 1, starting in verse 35. And so I'll give you a little context. Jesus has been down to the river and baptized by his cousin, John the Baptist. And so, most of us know that story. Jesus goes under the water and the skies open up and the Holy Spirit descends like a dove and tells the world that Jesus is the Son of God and that the Father is well pleased with him. And then another encounter picks up. And so we're in verse 35, and it says, oh, that's cool. I've never looked at the screen in the back before. Not that I can read it from here anyway, but I'll just read it off my paper. And so the next day, John was there again with two of his disciples. And when Jesus was passing by, he said, "Look, the Lamb of God." And when two of his disciples heard him say this, they followed Jesus. So this is the first thing I want you to note. They were John's disciples. They were committed to John. They were learning everything that John had to teach them. And one of the things that John taught them, he introduced them to someone who was greater, something greater. And he didn't need them to stick around. He didn't need them to say, no, wait a second, you're my disciples. And I've still got stuff to show you. He wanted them to see Jesus. And so he said, look, there is the Lamb of God. And so they left him. They left him and followed Jesus. Because that's what he wanted. He wanted them to see Jesus. He saw himself as a signpost to the one true King. And so turning around, Jesus saw them and asked, "What do you want?" And they said, "Rabbi," which means teacher, "where are you staying?" And he says, "Come," he replied, "and you will see." We'll talk about that more later, but I want you to take note of that language. Come and you will see. I like that. Those are Jesus' words. Those are words that they reek of Jesus. Come and you will see. And so they went and saw where he was staying, and they spent the day with him. And it was about 4 p.m, and then Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, was one of those who had heard John say what he had said and who had followed Jesus. And the first thing that Andrew did was find his brother Simon and tell him, "We have found the Messiah," that is, the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. And Jesus looked at him and said, "You are Simon, son of John. You will be called Cephas," which is translated Peter. And so the next day, Jesus decided to leave for Galilee. And finding Philip, he said to him, "Follow me." In these last verses, this is what I really want you to know. So Philip, like Andrew and Peter, was from the town of Bethsaida. And Philip found Nathanael. So everybody's finding everybody and hunting everybody down here. They found something that they think people need to know, and so they're going and finding everybody that they think needs to hear this. And so Philip found Nathanael, hunted him down, and told him, "We have found the one whom Moses wrote about in the law, and about whom the prophets also wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." Nazareth? Can anything good come from there? Nathanael asked. "Come and see," said Philip. There, we have that language again. That's the same language that Jesus used, isn't it? Come and see. And this time, Nathanael is asking Philip. Philip gave him huge news, and Nathanael asked a question. And so, the question that he asked, can anything good come from Nazareth? So that's a dismissive question, right? That's a prejudiced question. It doesn't make sense. Of course, good things can come from Nazareth, and it'd be pretty easy to criticize his tone there. But, the attitude does make sense, right? Even if the words aren't great, the attitude is something that we can understand. What are the chances that Philip actually found the Messiah that they'd been looking for all this time, the one true King of the world? that they'd been waiting for so long. What are the chances? Probably not. And so he dismisses Philip. And what does Philip say to that? He says, "Come and see. Come and see." And when Jesus saw Nathanael, Jesus said to him, Here truly is an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." And approaching, he said of him, "Well, how do you know me?" So Jesus acts like he has some inside knowledge of who Nathanael is. He says, "Well, here's a really honest Israelite. Here's an Israelite in whom there is no deceit." And Nathanael says, "How do you know that? How do you know?" And Jesus answered, "I saw you while you were still under the fig tree, before Philip called you." And Nathanael declared, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." Listen to that. Nathanael went from being dismissive, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" in just a few words of exchange with Jesus. And he says, "Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel." And so, I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what's up with this whole fig tree business. I really don't. I can tell you, I really don't know what that means. So, I've done my pastoral duty and read some commentaries and resources, and a lot of people have good ideas about what it means. And some people think that, it's just the supernatural element of it all. How could he have possibly saw him under the fig tree? But he did, so he must be the Son of God. And other people think that, well, if he was under the fig tree, then he was praying, because that's where people prayed. And so Jesus heard his prayers. And there are more complicated theories than that, but I'm not even going to get into it, because I don't think we need to know, at least for today. I think that what I do know is enough. What I do know is that whatever I saw you under the fig tree means, Jesus told Nathanael what he needed to hear. He said the right thing. Nathanael was skeptical. He was not on Team Jesus, but he trusted Philip, right? He trusted Philip, and he came to see. And Jesus took it from there. Let me finish this passage, because it's pretty cool. Verse 50, Jesus says, "You believe because I told you that you were under the fig tree. You will see greater things than that." And then he added, "Very truly I tell you, you will see heaven open and the angels ascending and descending on the Son of Man." What I'm preaching to you this morning is that these few words can change how you share the gospel entirely. Come and see. Do you see how this works? We are consistently seeing people headed in directions that we know are harmful to them. We're consistently seeing people who are making decisions and leading lives that they are going to regret. And we want to speak truth into their lives. We want to show them that there is a better way. So we plaster Facebook with posts about how people are going to go to hell, or they need to get on their knees, or we need to, I don't know. So do we stand on the street corner? Is that the answer? Do we stand on the street corner with our signs that say turn or burn? I just don't think that works. Telling people that their drug use or their adultery or their drinking or their cussing or the way that they treat people is a sin and puts their eternal future in jeopardy doesn't work for the people that I know that need Jesus. So then what do we do? If we aren't highlighting people's sins, then what do we do? Do we turn a blind eye? Do we let them live the way they want? Of course not. Do we just be extra nice to them and pray for them at night and hope it turns around? Certainly, I hope that those are things that you do. I hope that you're nice to people, and I hope that you spend a lot of time praying for the people that you love and bringing them before the throne of Jesus. But it has to come from somewhere. It's not just that. We have more to offer than that. We have more to offer than that. We have an invitation. Come and see. This is what I mean by loving unto Christ. Not come to our church and see what we do. Come and see Jesus. Come to Jesus and meet him. Loving unto Christ means making an introduction. Loving someone means being with them, letting them know that you enjoy being with them. And it means being for them. It means them knowing that you want them to succeed, that you want what is best for them. And only then, when people know that you're with them and they know that you're for them, do you get the opportunity to speak direction into their lives. And so when you have the opportunity to speak direction into people's lives, don't waste it. Don't waste it on course correction. Use it to introduce them to Jesus. Tell them to come and see. Let them come meet the one who changed your life, who changes your life, and see what happens. Because second, Jesus knows what to say. Jesus knows the right words when you don't. He knows what people need. Listen, friends, you are here for a reason. And I don't mean that you have some grand purpose, although you do. I mean that there is a reason that you come here every week. We're all here for the same reason, different iterations of the same reason. We love him. He gets us excited. The kind of things that he does when we are around him gets us excited. The kind of stories that we heard growing up that we hear of him now, the things that we hear him doing when he's hanging out with other people. He's great. He's exciting. He is worth knowing. And so trust him. He's been a good friend to you. Trust him to be a good friend to the people that you love. Trust that he wants to see them making choices that bring life and not death. Think about your own experiences with Jesus. Has he left you unchanged? Are you the same person that you were when you started following him? Definitely not. I don't care if you started following Jesus yesterday or 20 years ago or 40 years ago. You are not the same person as you were when you started on this journey, are you? Because he asks you to die. He asks you to leave parts of yourself behind as you move forward into him. If he's asked you to change, don't you think that he will ask that of your friends too? Don't you think that he will ask the people that you love to change, to conform to his image? So let him make those asks. That isn't our job. Our job is to introduce them to him and let him and them talk things through. And third, this evangelism is evangelism by come and see. It's not at all the same thing as sharing the gospel by go and check it out. It isn't go and see for yourselves if you don't believe me. It's come with me. Come with me and let me show you what I've seen. Let me show you who I know. When you're loving people unto Jesus, it isn't enough to make the introduction and walk away and consider your work finished. It is come and meet Jesus, and we'll all hang out together. And why is that important? That's important because what I just said is that you and I aren't responsible for turning people's lives around. We're not responsible for saving people from their sins, and we can't we need to let those decisions just be between them and Jesus. And so it seems like we should be able to cut out of the situation at that point. But it's important that we're with them. It's important that we come and see with them, because Jesus is going to ask them to do some crazy stuff. Because Jesus is going to ask them to change. He's going to ask them to come and die for him and to become someone new. Being in this kingdom that we're in is a wild ride, isn't it? We do a lot of new stuff, a lot of weird stuff, a lot of hard stuff. And there are going to be points when people turn to you and say, does he really mean that? Does Jesus really ask that of me? Is he really asking me not to do that anymore? To start doing that, to hang out with them? And you get to say, yeah, he's like that. Yeah, he's like that. He asks me for things like that too. And I know that it's hard to imagine from this side. But you won't believe what happens when you say yes. When you say yes to the things that he asks you to do, unbelievable things, like amazing stuff happens. You will see things that you can't imagine. You will see heaven open up. And I'm here for it. I'm here with you every step of the way. People need to hear that. You need to hear that. And so we're in this together. This is the vision for how we do ministry in the kingdom. Love is constantly redirecting back to the Son. I know, so there are a lot of things that I could point you to here. I started by sharing about John the Baptist and the way that he pointed his disciples to Jesus. In another passage, John the Baptist says this. Let me just read it to you. He says in chapter 3 of John, the bride belongs to the bridegroom. The friend who attends the bridegroom waits and listens for him and is full of joy when he hears the bridegroom's voice. That joy is mine, and it is now complete. He must increase, I must decrease. Like that's the rule of the introduction. The rule of the introduction is to have a front row seat to the wedding ceremony of the bride and the bridegroom. That's who we are. We're friends who are privileged to know the bridegroom. And we want to redirect people to him. We can't fix their lives. We can't give them all the right answers. We can't meet all of their needs or solve all of their problems, and we can't save people. But we can love them well. And we can enter into their lives, and we can be with them. And we can show them that we are on their side even when we don't agree with them. And then we can, above all else, we can listen to them and show them, we can show them the one true King of the universe. We can show them our friend who has changed our lives, who has saved our lives, who has solved our problems, who has met our needs over and over again, who has been a good friend to us. And we can all hang out together. And so next Sunday is the biggest event that we do all year. We're packing up. We won't be in the sanctuary at all. Our service will be in Scheide Park in the center of town. And this is, above all, an opportunity for you to be in an environment crafted for you to help your neighbors experience the restoring love of Jesus. And so next week isn't about feeding starving people. It's not about getting people to a place where they can hear some nice Christian music. It isn't about convincing them that our church is a happening place or a place to be. It is about you and I being in the same place as our community. And it is about giving our community a place to gather. It is about doing self-sacrificial things for them and letting them know that we are seeking their good. It's about letting them know that we want what is best for them. And it is about us demonstrating a rugged commitment to travel unto Christ together with them. It is about telling people to come and see Jesus, to walk hand in hand with us as we go toward the one true King together. And we make things a lot harder than they need to be, sure. But I think that we need to know that there are a lot more answers. The questions that people are asking, there are answers to those questions. And you don't have them all, and I don't have them all, but Jesus does. And so we introduce them to him. The formula is simple. It's, I know Jesus. I know Jesus, he did this for me. Do you think he could do anything for you? Come and see. That's how we share the gospel. I know Jesus. He did things for me. Do you think there's anything he could do for you? Come and see. So let me start. as the worship team comes up and plays, I want the altar to be open, as it always is. So I want the altar to be open as a place for you to pray for the needs that are in your lives. I also want the altar to be open for a place for us to begin praying for the fish fry now. Begin praying for the people in our lives that we need to know Jesus now. I want us praying that next week is a harvest, which is a bit of a stretchy metaphor, because the harvest doesn't happen when we run into the fields with sickles ready to chop everybody down and chop down their sins. It's about us standing on the front lines of their lives with them and showing that we're ready to face whatever they've got coming with them, and that we know somebody who can help them. And so, this is a moment where I really think that we can see lives change. So come and pray